ABC's senior foreign affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz explains how this poor country of 23 million people became the major training ground for al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda first used Yemen to launch attacks against the U.S. in October of 2000, when suicide bombers rammed their speedboat packed with explosives into the USS Cole, killing 17 sailors.
We've seen movement for many, many years, recruiting, proselytization of young warriors, young jihadists.
U.S. officials say Yemen now surpasses any other country in the world in posing a direct threat to the U.S. And the man they believe is most responsible for carrying out those threats is American-born radical cleric Anwar al-Awlaki. The Obama administration has approved the targeted killing of al-Awlaki, an extraordinary turn of events. Just months after 9/11, al-Awlaki, who was an imam at a mosque in Falls Church, Virginia, was invited and attended a private meeting at the Pentagon as part of an outreach program to Muslims. But al-Awlaki knew several of the 9/11 hijackers, had been in email contact with Major Nidal Hasan, the Army psychiatrist accused in the Fort Hood mass shooting, and was directly linked to the failed Christmas Day bomber Umar Farouk Abdul-Muttalib. We came to Yemen shortly after the attempted bombing, retracing Abdul-Muttalib's life, visiting the school where he came to study Arabic. This is the third-floor room where Abdul-Muttalib spent most of his time while he was at the institute here in Yemen. Just a bed, a desk, a closet. But officials say it was not Arabic he was studying here. He was training at al-Qaeda camps outside Sana'a and building bombs with the direct help of the American al-Awlaki.
Getting Americans who understand the culture, understand the way Americans think, and potentially have the ability to come back to the U.S. with clean papers, that is the ultimate weapon for al-Qaeda in terms of being successful.
U.S. Special Forces are now training thousands of Yemeni troops in counter-terrorist techniques to go after al-Qaeda, and the U.S. has launched an aggressive campaign of its own. In the last year, there have been at least half a dozen ship-launched cruise missile strikes here, targeting training camps and al-Qaeda leadership. But the man they are really after has eluded them. The man many U.S. officials believe is likely behind this latest terror plot. For This Week, I'm Martha Raddatz.
We're joined now by the Assistant to President Obama for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism, John Brennan. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Christiana.
Do you believe that there are any more explosives-laden packages out there, or just the two that were intercepted?
We can't presume that there are none other that are out there. So what we're trying to do right now is to work very closely with our partners overseas to identify all packages that left Yemen recently and to see whether or not there are any other suspicious packages out there that might contain these IEDs.
So is this threat still active? Is it neutralized?
It's a very active investigation that is ongoing. We can't presume, again, that we have identified all of the packages that are out there. We need to make sure that we get to the bottom of this, understand who is behind it, and what else might we be facing.
The woman who's in custody, is she the prime suspect?
The Yemenis have announced that the two individuals, a woman and her daughter, are the individuals presumed to have delivered those packages to the FedEx and UPS offices in Sana'a. And so we're working very closely with the Yemenis. They're questioning those individuals right now. We're hoping to get the results of those questions soon.
Do you think there was somebody else involved, or those women deliberately did that?
I think the sophistication of these IEDs shows, at least in my mind, that it was an al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula effort, and that there are a number of people that are involved in this. And so it's not just these two individuals. We're looking for a lot more.
Are you looking for the 28-year-old bomb maker Hassan al-Asiri, who also is apparently alleged to have made the bomb of the underwear bomber on Christmas Day?
The individual who has been making these bombs, whether it be the one that was given to Umar Farouk Abdul-Muttalib, or whether the one that was attempted to assassinate Prince Mohammed bin Nayef in Saudi Arabia, or the ones that were found in these packages, is a very dangerous individual. Clearly somebody who has a fair amount of training and experience, and we need to find him. We need to bring him to justice as soon as we can.
You say individual. Do you think it's the same individual?
I think the indications are right now, based on the forensics analysis, that it's an individual who's been responsible for putting these devices together. the same.
Now, Qatar Airways has just announced that the package laden with explosives that ended up in Dubai actually traveled on 2 of its passenger planes from Yemen to Doha and then from Doha to Dubai. And they're saying that this PETN explosive simply evaded their X-ray screening, their sniffer dogs.
It's my understanding.
I mean, that's very dangerous.
Well, it is. And what we need to do is to take a look at the procedures that are in place, the different airports out there, again, working very closely with them, see if there needs to be any type of adjustment of procedures or screening methods or technologies. We need to be able to detect these packages, whether they be on a cargo flight or whether they be on a passenger flight. We've stayed ahead of a lot of these adaptations of Al-Qaeda. We need to continue to do so. But that's why
Can you? Because if it's avoiding and evading those screening mechanisms, what can you do, and particularly on a passenger plane?
Well, I think what we've tried to do over the years is to have layered defense and have a multi-dimensional effort here, and that's why we rely heavily on our intelligence and security services and working very closely with others. We were very fortunate that our Saudi partners were able to support us in this effort.
How did that happen? How did the Saudis tip you off? How did they find out?
Once they received the information, they contacted us immediately, and it was a race against the clock to find those packages, to neutralize them, and so we owe a debt of gratitude to the Saudis. I think their actions really saved lives here.
How did they do it? How did they find it?
Well, I'm not going to go into details about how the Saudis came onto some information, but once they did, they didn't hesitate whatsoever, and they needed to handle that very quickly and pass it to us right away so that we were able to track those down. They were actually in movement, those packages. So it was, I think, a very good example of the cooperation that exists right now between U.S. agencies and our foreign partners.
You're saying that there needs to be better and more procedures put into place to screen these, particularly on passenger planes.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that this has been an evolving process. We continue to upgrade and to enhance our screening procedures and to take stock of attempts by Al-Qaeda to penetrate our defenses, and we make adjustments then as well. And so we continue to do it. We've already done it since the discovery of these packages the other day. We have made adjustments in it, and so what we're trying to do is to be as confident as possible we'll be able to detect these packages wherever they may be.
And what about cargo planes, where I understand, and ABC is reporting, that perhaps 90% of cargo is simply not screened?
Well, all cargo aircraft and all cargo coming into the United States is looked upon as something that we need to look at very carefully and identify those packages coming from different places that we need to screen. Sometimes there are different types of screening technologies. Some are with technical means. Some are actual physical inspections. So we look at all cargo coming into the United States as potentially pieces of cargo that need to actually have this intrusive inspection.
Is the United States safe from these threats?
I think the United States every day, I think, is getting safer and safer in terms of ensuring that we're able to take the steps that will respond to the most recent attempts by Al-Qaeda to try to penetrate our defenses.
The British say that these explosives could have brought down a plane.
Yes.
You say, and apparently they were intended for synagogues in Chicago.
They were addressed to locations that have been associated with synagogues in Chicago. The British believe that these IEDs were going to be detonated while they were on board the aircraft, wherever that might have been. But what we have to do is to look very carefully at whether or not they were going to be detonated on the aircraft or they were intended for the destination, and that's where they were going to be detonated.
And very quickly, even though this is a threat and you're saying you're still investigating it, the fact that it was intercepted, the fact that the underwear bomber did not explode in midair, does that show that they are getting more sophisticated or less able and sophisticated?
I think it shows that they are trying to, again, make different types of adaptations based on what we have put in place. So the underwear bomber, as well as these packages, are showing sort of new techniques on their part. They are very innovative and creative. We need to stay one step ahead of them. So I think this is a good example of the success that we've had, again, working with our partners, not relying on a single technology or a single screening procedure. We need to have multiple ways that we can identify these types of threats early and stop them before they're able to be carried out.
John Brennan, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much, Christiana.